ABC risks not just repeating, but making Roseanne's biggest blunder worse by insisting that The Conners Season 7 happening. To say that The Conners has had a rough road in establishing itself as one of the premier comedies currently on air would be a massive understatement. Born out of the unexpected cancellation of the short-lived Roseanne revival, it functions as a sequel and soft reboot to the popular family sitcom from the 80s and 90s. While it has slightly changed its focus, it is still technically part of the same universe. Revivals are tricky projects, especially if they are hampered by real-life controversies. Despite its issues, The Conners continues to thrive, becoming ABC's premier comedy. However, buzz about its potential end with Season 6 started in 2022 when co-showrunner Bruce Helford floated the idea that they were already tinkering about wrapping things up at Lanford, Illinois. Subsequently, Dan actor John Goodman backed up the idea that the end is near for The Conners on the small screen, saying that he thinks that the show lasted longer than he thought it would. Despite this, it sounds like ABC is pushing forward with Season 7. The Conners Season 7 risks the chances of being unexpectedly cancelled. ABC wants to keep it on the air for longer. Lacey Goranson's Becky and Sarah Gilbert's Darlene in The Conners. Not a year after the idea was first brought up, new comments from Helford and his co-showrunner Dave Kaplan hint that The Conners is continuing beyond its upcoming year. Helford tells TV Line that ABC responded to his previous quote that they have never agreed to that, referring to the idea that they are planning on ending the Roseanne spin-off. Meanwhile, Kaplan suggests that they are reversing course and are now looking to continue with the show, believing that they are still coming up with compelling stories for the family. While it's possible that Helford and Kaplan fully believe that it's better to continue The Conners, it's curious if Goodman feels the same. As a legacy actor, he must remain on the show as Dan for as long as it's on the air. Losing him after the death of Roseanne will be a massive blow to the series. In any case, ABC's insistence that the show should last on the air for much longer actually makes sense from a business perspective. As one of their most popular scripted shows, keeping the comedy on the air is good for business. However, with Goodman potentially losing interest over playing Dan long-term, not to mention the several cast exits in the last few years, including removing Roseanne and Dan's youngest, DJ, from the show, ABC may be stretching out The Conners narrative way too far if they go beyond the guaranteed Season 6. Why The Conners desperately need a satisfying ending. Roseanne dropped the ball in its original run's finale. At the time that Helford first raised the possibility of The Conners ending with Season 6, he also mentions that Sarah Gilbert has been adamant about making sure that they are able to properly wrap up the show. She was so concerned that they would get cancelled unceremoniously that she even reached out to the network to appeal. Whether they came to an agreement is currently uncertain, but between what happened towards the end of the original run of Roseanne and what they went through with the revival, it's difficult to fault Gilbert for being forward about the matter. For context, after 8 seasons of brilliant storytelling showing the struggles of middle-class America, Roseanne Season 9 had an odd significant storytelling turn. The majority of its run tackled an alternate version of what the Conners' life would have been if some things turned out in their favor. In the end, it was revealed that it was all part of Roseanne's fantasy. It was a departure from its grounded storytelling, which is often why it's disregarded when talking about its legacy. This is likely part of Gilbert's motivation for wanting to ensure that The Conners ends on a positive note. Being able to step back into the shoes of the Lanford family was a privilege, but receiving the chance to send them off in a much more satisfying way, especially in light of how abruptly Roseanne Season 10 wrapped up, is further reason to ensure that the franchise as a whole gets a proper ending. Considering everything that happened just a year after it returned, the chances that the clan coming back after the Conners are slim to none, so this is their final chance to get their swan song right. Unexpectedly getting cancelled makes that difficult to pull off. Why Season 6 is the perfect time to end The Conners. The Conners is approaching its organic endpoint. Laurie Metcalf's Jackie and Estelle Parsons' Bev hug in The Conners Season 5 Episode 13. Much of what needs to happen in The Conners Season 6 has already been set up in previous seasons. At the top of the list is the inevitable death of Bev. Jackie and Roseanne's mom has been suffering from dementia and is slowly dying. While the offshoot doesn't actively progress her story, considering everything else happening in the clan, it's an overarching storyline that must be addressed, and Season 6 is its organic endpoint. Elsewhere, Ben and Darlene's marriage appears to have somehow stabilized, while Mark's high school graduation in the Conners Season 5 finale officially addressed his strained relationship with his biological father, David. Finally, Louise has come back home after touring, allowing her and Dan to finally live full-time together. Given these mini-culminations, The Conners Season 6 would be enough to address all the remaining narrative loose ends. This means that the Roseanne spin-off sequel doesn't need to introduce another character arc that will take time to develop. Instead, it can focus on closing off the plots they currently have. How ABC can ensure the Connors run until Season 7. The Connors Season 6 needs to be careful with its storytelling pacing. If ABC is adamant about keeping the Connors on the air for at least one more season, there are a couple of ways that Helford, Kaplan, and the rest of its creative team can minimize the risk of ending on an unsatisfying note. The key is to be mindful of their storytelling pacing in light of Season 6 only having 13 episodes compared to its usual 20+. Despite the extended wait time in between seasons, the delay, which resulted in a shortened Season 6, would allow the Roseanne spin-off sequel to push major plot's resolution to the Connors Season 7 and use Season 6 for smaller, albeit not insignificant, storylines. Becky's dating life and Harris's personal arc after her loss in Season 5 can be focal points. Dan and Louise's marital relationship, considering their new living setup, will be interesting to see.